really interested in. Like, I really do want to read Captured because I like the whole pirates kind of vibe. It's just so many.
Yeah. Yes, that one, in my opinion, had so much action. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, like Pirates of the Caribbean, literal Caribbean pirates, because he's from Haiti. And I'm like, this is really cool. And then our female main character is currently enslaved. She's currently in enslavement. So, I mean, that was, you know, that was like that was really hard because I know I have a lot of people asking because they're not ready to venture down. Hello, Miss Bev.
Hi.
Hi. Oh my goodness. Um, we were just talking about how amazing your books are and how much we love Captured. I'll let you get settled. So yeah, but reading how the female main character in Captured was currently enslaved. And I think a
Hmm.
lot of us grew up reading Addie in American Girls. And,
Hmm.
those stories, she was, the only girl that was enslaved in an American Girl doll. So it was kind of nice to get this is the how the slave girl gets the happy ending. You know.
Gotcha.
And it was really refreshing as, a woman descendant of Black slaves to get that happy
Hmm.
ending. So, yes, hello.
Hey,
How are you today?
Hi.
Hi.
how are you, ladies?
Good.
Thanks for the invite. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so
Can
much.
you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Yeah.
you. Can you hear
Oh,
us?
okay, okay,
I'm sorry. Everybody's like,
okay.
you are a legend in our eyes. So we're all just like gathering ourselves here.
I'm just me, so it's you don't have to be whatever. Just I'm just another girlfriend, okay? So, but honored to be here. Thanks for inviting me and all that. And
Yeah.
you were talking about Captured. Rebecca Weatherspoon loves that book so much that she has a tattoo of the cover on her arm. Now
That's
I can't hear you.
okay. Let me see.
Okay, now I can.
Okay,
Now,
okay. Good, good, good. I'll just talk a little louder then. Yes, that's incredible. It was such a good book. I mean, I was because a lot of these stories about our ancestors are very much mishandled. Like, it is very hard to get a slave narrative where there's a point of pride at the end and that we are the saviors of our own story.
yeah, yeah. And I think that that's probably one of the reasons why there hasn't been any kind of Hollywood kind of interest because there's no white savior. You
Mm,
know, we save ourselves, which we have always done. I mean, if you go back and look at the history and not look at the history as told through Hollywood, um, we have always saved ourselves.
mhm.
So to get a book, I mean, it was just something that I would have loved to read growing up.
Yeah.
There was nothing like this in my life growing up. So I'm honored that I'm on my fourth generation of readers now.
Yeah.
Grandmamas and mamas and you know young women in college and then we have the young adult Belle and JoJo. So
I have to say, I introduced my baby cousin who's about 14 to your Belle and Josephine stories, and she was just absolutely captivated by them and was hungry for more. And I was like, I can't, I have tons of Rex, but I can't give you those books until you're 18 because I don't
you're
want to
not
get in
old
trouble
enough
with your
yet.
mother.
Yeah, I was a brownie leader when I wrote most of the books and the two young adults. And I told the girls, I said, and their moms, they are not old enough. I don't write for children. They are not old enough. Now they're in their 40s, of course, and they got kids of their own. But no, it's a rite of passage also. To be able to go from those teen books and into what the girls are now calling the big girl books. So you get that love, but then you don't get, then you get that heat which is, you know, not for the young at heart or the young of age or any of that. So,
Yeah, I just, yeah, I'm in the middle of Josephine and the Soldier.
okay.
Yes, and it's really good. I mean, for young adults, I have a teenage son. He's not really, he likes, computer books. But
Yeah.
for young people, there's a lot more history in those ones because there's not as much spice.
Yeah. Well, I had to go back and redo those because the when Harlequin redid them or Kimani redid them, I had to put a new ending on with the weddings because I kept getting letters from the young women saying, "Well, did they get married? Well, what happened at the end?" So when we moved them over to Kimani, they all got weddings now. So if you have the original, you don't get the wedding, but if you get the reissued one, you get the weddings at the end.
Okay,
So
that's good to
yeah.
know. Yeah, because a lot of people, you probably know this, are always seeking out the original covers to your books,
Hmm.
trying to
Yeah.
find those original editions, and some of them are missing, certain endings and things. But
Yeah.
yeah,
But I absolutely love the Kamani covers. I mean, they are absolutely gorgeous.
I
And
love them.
if I had my pick, I would have picked the original, the Kimani cover, because it says it all. Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
I was reading Through the Storm. I had just finished Through the Storm. My mom looked at the cover. She was like, "What are you reading?" I was like, "Listen, never mind the cover. As beautiful as it is, it's a history lesson in this book." And she's like, "If you say so."
You have to give it to her. She'll probably enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten my mom. I'm still working on her because my mom's not she's not into fiction, but my two younger sisters, they're in their late 20s, early 30s.
Okay.
I'm slowly working on them and my best
Okay.
friend. So
Okay.
I'm like, listen, y'all don't even know what you're in for.
Yeah. 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 There's nothing quite like it still in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I thought I was going to be out here by myself forever. That nobody else was ever going to write historicals. But,
Yeah.
now we got Vanessa, even though most of her stuff is IR. We got
Hmm.
Vanessa, we got Alyssa, um, we got Dahlia Rose.
Hmm.
We got a few people coming up behind me that are doing historicals, and that makes me feel good. That makes me feel
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good to hear. Because I mentioned in our correspondence that there would be authors on this call, and Angelique is. Can you wave? Because that's not. She's Kiera Prince, but her name is Angelique. She's working on a Regency romance.
Okay.
Or you're in the research process, right? Like you're in the beginning process.
I'm on draft 5 right now. I've been doing a lot of heavy um developmental editing of my work to get it ready for literary agent submission querying process. So it's a Regency, which I'm calling like a series Indecent Debutantes about Black debutantes in the Regency era. And yes, I'm taking wild choices with, putting Black women in this setting, but my whole thing is there's a lot, like you mentioned Vanessa Riley, she's done a ton of research about Black people in Regency England and just Victorian England in general. And the gag is they exist. It's just that history erases them. So like my whole
Yeah.
thing is let's just insert them back in because they
Yeah.
were
Absolutely.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And why
Vanessa.
not? It's my story. So yeah, I'm working on that, getting it ready to hopefully query. I just submitted another story that I'm working on that is IR. It is a midwife, a Black midwife, and a Duke to Harlequin's Romance Includes You mentorship program. So
Okay. Good
I
luck.
can't
see.
wait. I can't wait to read that.
Yeah.
Okay. Good luck on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Vanessa is done just some incredible research.
Yeah, she
Her,
has a
her,
great blog that talks a lot about all of the things that Black people were doing in the era and just kind of bringing back that visibility. that you really don't see. It is wild. Like I was Googling the other day, like first Black doctors in the UK and kind of trying to get that history. And there's like nothing until like the maybe 30s or 40s. And I'm like, that can't be right. Like
Yeah.
there were so many people that were in like the Liverpool area and like they had their own communities. And it's just, I don't know, that history just it doesn't exist. So it makes me want to go back and get a PhD. But I'm trying not to add to my student loans.
Yeah. But England was different than here. I mean, even though you had a lot of the abolitionist stuff started there, mm, I'm not surprised that you didn't find anything. Um, but Vanessa's always open. You send her an email and ask her where you might want to, where you could look, and
Hmm.
she may know that. Um, that's one of the things that I've tried to preach is to always reach back, um, so that the younger writers coming up don't have as much of a struggle as I did and as Brenda did and Donna and all of us old hands because we had no one but each other. So don't be afraid to, especially all of you who are aspiring, don't be afraid to send me an email. I'm not gonna read your stuff, but I will let you pick my brain. We will discuss stuff um, because that's part of my job. Is to make the path wider, not to say, I got mine, you get yours. Because this is crazy shit out here, and life is slippery. We got whole hands, especially women of color. So send me an email if you need me. I'm here.
Thank
Okay.
you for that. Because I see we're talking about historical romance, and where did you go? Tati, hello. You had mentioned she's an author, Beverly, and
Mhm.
also interested in historical romance, and starting that. You want to say hi, Tati? I'm sorry, I'm putting everybody on the spot, you guys.
It's okay.
Hey,
Hi, Miss
babe.
Bev. How are you? We've met once before, but it's good to see you
Okay.
again.
Yeah, good to see you
Um,
again too. How you been?
yeah, I think I asked Krista about just how do we who are some authors that you think are kind of on that path to kind of not necessarily follow in your footsteps, but the authors that you think are like, okay, they got it. They're on the right kind of path to like carving the niche for like new voices in Black historical romance. And where are some areas of Black historical romance that you think we're not exploring enough?
Well, everybody who's on the path is on the path. Okay. Um, and it's not my job or anybody else's job to say, don't write about that because we all bring something unique to the table. And that's what readers are looking for, that uniqueness. They're not looking for another Beverly Jenkins. They're looking for a Toddy. They're looking for, whoever is coming to the marketplace with something that they want to read. It's good and well written, well researched, got that heat. Um, there are some people that don't like the heat, and that's okay because, we all bring something different to the table. But I think that, that they're now calling the 50s historicals. And I'm like, wait a minute, whoa, whoa, no, 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 no. You know, that's when I was growing up. I know I'm old, but I ain't that old. Um, but I think whatever, like I would like to see, I got so many storylines in my head. The gentlemen gangsters of Harlem during the 40s and the 30s, and the same gentlemen of gangsters in my hometown of Detroit, which I think nobody has really, touched upon. I mean, there's a lot of areas. I mean, we cannot write too many stories about the Civil War vets or the the black and brown outlaws and the lawmen. Um, when the stuff with Bass Reeves came out, my readers were like, "Hello, we have been doing Bass Reeves since 1998. Where y'all been?" So, and the fact that they didn't, when they did the Bass Reeves series, the historian that I got my research from, Art Burton, they never even contacted him. So, be prepared to be ignored, but do not let that stop you because you got a story to tell. And that's your job, is to tell that story. So I'm wishing you good luck. Let me know if you need me. I'm here. Write your story. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I will. I'm still trying to carve out whatever that niche is. I think for me, being from the South, I definitely want to talk about, people don't think of cowboys and think of Georgia necessarily, but I definitely want to like carve out some kind of niche with that because I am from Georgia. So, and
Yeah.
my grandparents and stuff own land and stuff here too. So, um, it's a side project of mine. I get harassed all the time. When are you gonna write cowboy? When are you gonna write a cowboy? And I say, if I can live up to the greats like Miss Bell, then I'll do it. But I'm not ready yet, so we'll see. But thank you so much for the.
Take your time.
I
And
am
and there's never going to be a perfect time.
right.
You're just gonna have to jump on out there on faith. Know that you have done the best job that you can
Hmm.
and put it out there in the marketplace and see what happens. And if the gatekeepers don't want it, one of the great things about right now is you can do it indie.
Right.
There was
Right.
no indie back then when we were coming up.
Hmm.
Either you were published or you weren't.
Hmm.
Were published traditionally or you weren't. So just write that story because it's not gonna leave you alone. I know
Right.
that. It's sitting on your shoulder right now, whispering in your ear, going, "Why ain't your ass writing?" Instead of me talking to this woman, right?
Right. 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 Well, all right. You've spoken. I'm done. I gotta go write it.
Just get started and don't put pressure on yourself. Just tell yourself you're writing the story for you, not for anybody else, but for you. And then that'll keep you from freaking out and going, "Oh my God, and I got to get so many words done and all that." Don't do that. Just write your story. Okay. Good luck.
Yeah,
We
good.
started a little bit early, didn't we?
We did.
Uh,
Yeah, we started early. I had to make sure everything was set. Like I said, we have a lot of people here, so I'm really grateful that everybody came to listen, to talk, to chat. One more historical romance author, Marissa McQueen, to call out, who actually has a book out called My Brother's Keeper. It's a historical romance in the 50s. And I don't want to speak over you, Marissa. So when you're ready.
okay.
Hi, Miss Bev. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a beacon for us. I'm sorry, I have my camera off and I'm not going to take up any time because as y'all can see, my husband's in the background. I have kids in the background.
There's
So
nothing wrong with that. You got a life, girl. It's
I'm,
okay. It's okay.
I'm just listening. My question was about the history and how am I making sure that I'm capturing history accurately while giving color and life and love to the people who are in my stories. And
Um,
thank you. I'm gonna go back off camera, but thank you so
no,
much.
you can stay on camera if you want. That's fine. I like being able to see who I'm talking to. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Um, you want reputable sources. So depending on what era you're writing on, look for that Black gaze historically. So if you're doing, say you're doing the Civil War, you're doing Reconstruction, then you want Benjamin Quarles. You want Art Burton if you're doing uh, Black Westerns. Dorothy Sterling, that's my Bible. We Are Your Sisters, Black Women of the Night. Everything you ever wanted to know about what Black women were doing, what they were thinking, how they were gathering is in that book. I have gone through 3 copies in my 30 years. So, just be reputable. You don't have to make any of this up. Our history is so deeply rooted and so strong in this country and so well documented. And with all this book banning, you need to start buying your books anyway. Okay. Um, because I had no books when I started. I used the library. That's one of your best resources is your local library. Um, but you don't have, like I said, you don't want to make it up. And if you look at my bib list in the backs of my books, then you can also riff off of those and check those out for whatever historical stuff you may need. Does that help?
It
Does that
does.
help?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Email me if you need me.
Yeah,
Okay. Great
wonderful.
meeting.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So, I mean, we read your books only for the history. We only read them for the history, nothing else. What is,
Right.
can you go more into what you just touched on it a bit, but as readers, we really like that research process. So, can you explore more on, just that process that you go through? Where do you start? Do you start with the character? Do you start with the historical fact? Is it family influence?
Each book is different. There is no set formula, at least for me. Um, and don't let anybody tell you that there is a proper way to do this. Your way is the proper way for you. So for me, and I'm a pantser too. So I don't know half the time what the hell I'm doing. It may be um, something I read, like Indigo was fueled by, if you've read, most of you have read the book, um, the little sentence that I got out of Bullwhip Days, where the enslaved person said they knew a man named Wyatt who was free, who sold himself into slavery for the love of a woman. Stopped my heart. What? You know, but there is no HEA in slavery. She could have been sold the next day. So for me, it was, suppose they had a child and she was able to escape. What would her life have been like? So that was what fueled that. Topaz was fueled by an old movie called Westward the Women that was really popular in the probably late 50s, early 60s. And it's about a wagon train of women going west. I love that movie, but I wanted to write it from a Black perspective. So that fueled that story. So for me, it's different. I mean, it could be characters, it could be a historical incident, it could be a city, it could be anything. So there is no, at least for me, there's no, well, this comes first and then this comes first and then this comes first, which each book is different. Each book is different. Okay. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, thank you so
Okay.
much for that. Topaz gets a lot of love. I noticed in the chat, people, Dixon Wild, oh my goodness. What a guy.
I love that book, and it was interesting because it's book number 4 or 5. I think it's 4. I got a letter because this was before computers, and I got a fan mail letter from a woman, and she said, Miss Beth, your first 3 books have been pretty serious. Can you write a comedy? And I was like, okay, I can try that, you know. And so out of that came, and reading it lately, it still holds up really, really well to be as old as it is. The book's almost 30 years old, but it's still drop dead funny. I still laugh my heart out with them trying to break down the doors of the bank with that tree. I'm like, well, really, what are y'all doing? So um, Topaz is one of my favorites. It's one of my favorites. Yeah.
It's
Okay.
incredible. And the cover is beautiful. The original cover is just stunning
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it does open readers to it opens readers to a whole other cast of characters. That's where we meet Lorelai and
Mm-hmm.
Grace. I mean, it's just
Grace.
Grace, yes, yeah. And it's such a
Yeah.
treat. If you guys haven't read it, please read it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it. It's funny. It's funny.
Yes. Well, speaking of more of your books, people really love Tempest. That's another one because the Rhine series. I like how you called the Rhine whiners.
They made me crazy, and they, and these are the women who've been with me since the beginning. These women who've been with me for 40 years, right? And I did not know where he was. I had no idea. Um, because he's only in Through the Storm on maybe 3 pages. I mean, he's not even there long enough to eat dinner. He just, going through, right? But something about him, and the readers were like, well, what happened to him? I don't know. I don't know where he went. I have no idea. But then, like I was just saying, different things spark different stories. When I ran across the archaeological dig that they did in Silver City, Nevada, and they came across the the saloon, and they found out that it had been run by a black man before the city burned to the ground. David Boston Saloon. I was like, okay, I'm giving this to Ryan. This is where Ryan has been for the last 15 years. So I used that because anytime you do an archaeological dig and there's a hot sauce bottle found, stereotypes aside, it's some black people involved in this somewhere, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
as one of the original hot sauce bottles from Louisiana.
Oh yeah.
So, and him being from, so yeah. So that is what fueled that story, to go back and talk about, different stuff fueled in different stories. But yeah, so, and then out of Rhine came, the other stories with Tempest and Breathless and all of that, which I had not planned on doing. But when I saw that you could mail your children
Yeah.
in the 19th century, I was like, okay, we can use that. So that's how the girls wound up with Edie and Ryan. And then there's stories from there. So sometimes, the story will spark stuff that, especially if you're a pantser, and you have no idea where you're going to go with the story. So yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing. I am a huge Lebec family woman, and I realized
Uh,
that Steve and Bo are going, well, Miss
the
Beth.
House of Levesque.
That was actually my first introduction. I read Rebel 2 years ago, and I was
Uh-huh.
like, I got to know more. I never went to Amazon so fast and ordered so many books in my life. I was just like devouring them. My mom was like, "What are you reading?" I was trying to explain it to her. I was like, "I don't know where I've been, but I love Auntie Bev because this is great."
That's what it was. Rebel was my first one too. And then I read that whole series and I was like, more, more,
I was like,
more.
I need more Levesque brothers in my life.
I think we all
Yeah.
need more Levesque and more Juliana too. You know.
Yes.
And when she showed up in which book did she show up in? Oh, not Rebel, in Raven's book.
To catch.
Mm.
She showed up at the end of Raven because I needed closure. She had done, you know, uh, I got too many characters and I'm too old. My brain is just not cooperating today. Um, the female lead in Winds of the Storm.
Oh, Sable and
No,
Zara.
no, not, no,
Zara.
no, no. That's
Oh, Zara, right?
right.
Zara.
Zara, yes, yes. So when Zara got screwed over by Miss Woman, who's turned out to be in Raven, and almost cost Raven her life. Zara her life. I was like, no, you don't get to fix this by just sending a letter. That's not, and Juliana was not happy either. I had no idea Juliana was going to turn up in that story, but she did and got her revenge. So, I got, that's, it's a wonder I can keep all these stories, in my head together, but I can't most of the time. Go ahead, dear. What you got? How are you?
I'm good. Yes, I just filtering through the chat. A lot of love for the Leveques. A lot of the Leveques deserve a Netflix series. You touched on this in the beginning when it was a couple people about film adaptation. Is because your stories are so focused on Black history and so focused on Black liberation through Black people. Is that why we don't see Shonda Rhimes
I think so.
endorsed you? So I'm like, wait a minute.
It's Shonda's money. She can do what she want to do with her own money, right? But yeah, I think we the young women at Rip Bodice had a deal with Sony to do a first look kind of thing, and they recommended Forbidden. And so this was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, and went through the process, and we got a showrunner, and we had a couple of drafts done, and the pandemic hit. And because of the pandemic, everybody just sort of, into the wind. And that was the end of that.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that was the end of that. They renewed the option, and then they were like, thanks, but no thanks. So, but they say I write very, very visual. You can see the story in your head. Yeah. So we all have our own movie in our head. We know who is starring in it. Yes, it would be nice to have a movie, but sometimes you got to be careful what you ask for.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens going forward. We got some interest in the Blessing series too. But optioning and getting it filmed and getting it done are sometimes two different things. So, but we shall see. We shall see. But yeah, I there's no white saviors in my books.
Amen to them.
Yeah, and that's why I love them. And that's why I love them.
And I think that's part of the issue with, with Hollywood. They need that. They think.
Mm-hmm.
They think. So we'll see.
We need to get Ryan Coogler on the phone.
There you go. The people were
I
like,
do have hope for that.
Like, no, we are not giving anything to Tyler Perry. No,
no,
sorry.
Please,
please, no.
Please, no.
I think there's proof in Hollywood, though, that these unapologetic Black stories are, wanted. It's just getting past the gatekeepers, essentially.
Yeah. Well, the woman who is the head of NBC Universal is a Black woman, and had a talk with her, and she wants to do Forbidden, and she said, "You have no idea how many times I've read the story." I was like, "Okay, welcome to the family," So we'll see where that goes. So
I just finished Forbidden. And I was messaging Krista the other night. I stayed up to like 1 a.m. I'm like, I have to finish this story.
It's a good book. It was a good book. And I love that, because I'm just writing it. And I have readers who are academics who, do this kind of critical thing for their livelihood. And one of them said that Edie made it essential for Ryan to return to his Blackness. And I was like, oh, I like that.
That finger's right there.
I like that.
Yeah. So, I didn't think about it like that in those deep terms. That yeah, she brought him back to his blackness. And then if you remember the scenes with him and Sable
Mhm.
and Through the Storm, and him saying, I'm leaving the race because I'm tired of being treated, like three-fifths of a man, and and I'm tired of this. And she brought him back over the color line. So interesting, interesting interpretation. Yeah.
Yeah, that one is really popular on Instagram. If you type in your name, Forbidden is one of the ones you'll always see over there. And then Rebel's really popular on TikTok, as
Yeah.
everybody's mentioned
Yeah.
in the chat. Because the last historical romance block you did was the Women Who Dare series, and Rebel kicks
Yeah.
the series off. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And the fact that none of the women are related. I never wanted to do series. All of my stuff has been standalone. Um, and then when series started becoming popular, my editor, who I absolutely adore, was like, "Okay, you need to start doing, series." And I'm like, "I don't do no series." But the first one was the first real series was the Destiny series, because the Levex books were, you know, fueled by readers. We have another Levex story. Y'all was like sending me emails and camping out in front of my house and all of that.
Destiny
At the
series.
pajama parties,
Yeah.
deciding that,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
but I would not be who I am without my readers.
Mhm.
So I always say, and I know some of you have heard me say this before, that when I count my blessings, I count y'all twice, because I wouldn't be here without you. Y'all have paid my mortgage, y'all bought me cars, y'all, had me smoking for 56 years. I quit smoking in January. So, I am so grateful for my readers.
Oh my God, we're so grateful for you. I mean, when we were putting this call together, we were inundated with messages and emails to get it, to be a part of it.
Yeah.
We do have another writing question on
Go ahead.
how do you overcome writer's block when you've got those
I
days where
don't have it. I don't believe in
wow,
it.
you really are the
I
best,
don't
Deb. You
believe in
really
it.
are
I
the
mean,
best. Yeah.
we're all different. I was somewhere, and this white guy got up and said that he had been blocked for 7 years. And I looked at him, I was like, and you had that thought bubble in your head, right? And I'm like, you need to see your doctor, something, something. But I don't believe in writer's block. What I do believe in is that writing myself into a spot where I don't know what's going to happen. Um, and usually I'll just leave it alone for a while, or write longhand, because that kicks your brain into another gear, or go for a walk, work on another project, read something. My stuff usually comes to me in the shower. I'm usually, since I'm living alone here now, I'm running through the house naked, dripping wet, looking for, paper and pen to write down stuff so that I remember. But I don't believe in writer's block per se. I think I mean, you can be stuck, but I don't know. I think people give it a lot more power than they should. But then we're all different. Some people do believe in writer's block, and that's okay. So, okay,
I have a
that's my
question.
story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, go ahead, Angelique.
Yeah, so my question is, when you're working on a project, do you stick to like a schedule? Do you have a certain amount of time you write, or is it just part of the pantser process for you?
It's part of the, I haven't turned a book in on time in probably, God. So it's one of my editors not bald from pulling out her hair dealing with me. But In the beginning, before hubby went to heaven and the kids were still here, I had a job. I had hats that I wore in the community, hats at my church. I had a brownie troop, like I said. Um, I worked at night because that was the only time the house was quiet enough. And after the kids went to bed, um, I worked at night. And then when I lost my husband in '03, um, and my daughter was just coming out of college, and my son was junior in high school. Um, and then he went to the Marines. He went to the Marines. She moved out, and I was here by myself. And I still worked at night, and I still work at night now. But my biggest distraction is social media. First, it was Twitter. Those of you who follow me on Twitter know that I was on Twitter all day long. I could hear my editor saying, "Bev, get off of Twitter and go to work." Um, and now it's blue sky because I left Twitter. But so I find myself usually deadline. I got a month maybe to write a gazillion pages to try and get the book in on time. So that means no showers, no sleep. Um, my neighbors are feeding me. Um, my daughter's calling saying, and she calls me little girl. Little girl, have you had a shower recently? And if you have not had a shower, get your little ass in the shower. Um, it's wonderful being here by myself. Because when I'm on deadline, there's no food, there's no washing, there's no, the house is a mess, um, mail piled up. And then you turn the book in and you realize that life is still there. Um, and that life is continued without you. So you try and reconnect. Luckily, I have friends who love me enough to know that it may be 6 weeks where I'm not going to call them or talk to them because I'm behind on this book that I need to finish. But there's no rhyme or reason to my schedule. I have no discipline. Now Brenda Jackson, you want to talk about discipline? Girlfriend is amazing. We went to Hawaii, God, probably 10 years ago, I guess. We out on the beach. No Brenda. I said, where's Brenda? Brenda in her room writing. We in fucking Hawaii. What are you doing? Went to another event. Brenda's at the desk, arguing with the people at the desk because her room does not have a desk. So she can work. I tell her she's Nora's love child. Um, some of us have discipline, and then there's me who has none. But I have managed to put out 60 books in the last 30 years. Brenda's got like over 100,000. Brenda's probably written 3 books while I've been in here talking to y'all. Uh,
Oh my goodness. Well, your work
her
does.
and Iris,
I mean,
her and Iris Bowling, are the most disciplined people that I know. Um,
wow.
but I envy them, but they make me tired just being around them. I'm like, y'all make me tired just being around y'all. Take me, Brenda said she can do a category in 10 days.
Wow.
Take me 10 days just to get into my office because there's so much crap everywhere. So, but that's my story as to my process. Um, Going down a rabbit hole will distract you. Um, I generally, because of my pants, I have really no idea where I'm going with the story when I start. So I may be wandering around like, Moses and the Israelites, trying to find where I'm going. And then finally, where I need to be will kick in, and then I'll start writing then. And if I have to stop to do some research, I'll go ahead and stop, do that research, and then go back to the story. So does that help? It's
Yes.
long-winded. That in itself was a walk through the desert, right?
No,
That
that was really helpful. And I mean, I think it illuminates a lot. Like you had a job and kids and family starting out with this career, and a lot of writers are in the same position. So it's just
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
encouraging to hear. Like sometimes you just got to get it in at night or wherever it fits
yeah,
into your life.
yeah. Because my kids were both band kids, so I remember editing stuff before the lights went out in the auditorium, before the concert started. I remember editing, um, sitting in the car at marching band practice under the lights while they were on the field and I was in the car. Um, and I told and I also emphasized to my kids that this was my job. This is not a hobby. This is a job, and I wanted them to treat it that way. When my son was in kindergarten, and I was in the basement working under the stairs next to the water heater because we didn't have extra room for an office for me. And he would come downstairs and he would say, "Mom, aren't you lonely down here by yourself?" And I'd be like, "No, John, I'm not lonely." But I knew that that was my cue, that he needed somebody to play with. So, Mama would, during the day, Mama would abandon her, whatever she was working on, and go play with him. But my kids, they always got part of the royalty money because I told them, "You leave me alone, let Mama work. I'll pay you when I get paid." so, so now my daughter is 40, she'll be 45 this year. Yeah. And my son will be 39, and they're still getting royalty money, because they're taking good care of their mom and, making sure that I'm fed and, making sure that, the snow is shoveled and all of that. Um, so it's a job, and I would tell them, Mama's going to work. Mama's not going to go play on the computer. Mama's not going to go and do whatever. Mama's going to work. So, you emphasize that with your kids and with your partners and your significant others, that this is a job. And it is. Let me work. I'll pay you. I'll pay you to stay away from me.
I have a question. You've had such a long career. Do you read your reviews? Like, how do you deal with like criticisms or like people who say, I would like to see this? Or, how do you stay true to the story that you want to see, the story that you want to write, and just kind of block out all the stuff that
It's
doesn't.
something you learn. It's something you learn to do. Um, no way in the world am I on Goodreads. No, that's just a cesspool over there. No, I don't do Goodreads. And a lot of times, and I don't, not to brag, but I very rarely get bad reviews. So I know I'm doing something right for most of the people. Um, I did have one woman a long time ago who challenged my use of the word adolescence as a 19th century word. And she said, "That's not," and I'm like, "I'm not even going to debate you. I know it's a 19th century word. Your ass need to look it up and go sit down somewhere. Um, but a lot of writers that I know don't read their reviews. I mean, it's not necessary for you. Well, let me say this. If you have a bunch of people saying the same thing, criticizing the same whatever, then that's maybe something you want to look at. But if it's just a random, what's that thing? If somebody else's opinion of you doesn't matter. That's not your business. But they have fueled stories. Um, All these Leveque stories are usually by the readers. We need more Leveques.
We do.
I had one girlfriend who
We do.
I used to do. I have a girlfriend who did a series a long time ago. And what she did was she had all the brothers in the story were already married. So she didn't have to deal with going back and giving them all the guys' stories because they were already all married, you know. So that's one way of dealing with it. But usually, like, okay, my Julys, my Outlaws. Everybody wants two Shafts to have a story. Shaft doesn't want a story. He does not want a story. And I have been telling them this for 30 years. So we have what we lovingly call the Two Shaft Support Society. And those who have a real issue with it, you know, go over there and sit over with them over there at that table over there. They'll talk. You guys can talk about it. But a lot of times, so the ideas that they send me are good ideas. Now, if I don't know enough about the character's backstory, then I probably will not write it. Will not write it. In what book is that? The one with the Before the Dawn. Before the Dawn, yeah. His half brother, who's the villain. I don't know if you guys read the story. People like, well, you can redeem him. No, I'm not redeeming him. He's a villain. He tried to kill a girl. No, I'm not going to redeem him. You know, so I'll give them a support society too. So you know, you write what you feel. You write what's in your heart. You don't write to market. And then, you know, let the chips drop where they may, you know. So and I have been told people, if you don't like it, you can write your own story, you know.
Love that.
Does that help?
I love that because a lot of us are in Book Talk a lot, and the whole writing to market and following the trends thing is very pervasive. Like everybody wants some version of this same story that has the morally gray hero who does bad things, but he's gonna burn the world down for her and forget everybody else. And it feels like almost as if a lot of romance books are like pushing towards those tropes. And it's, I don't know, it's kind of a lot of sameness that kind of like, haven't I seen this somewhere before? And so you really have to wade through the noise to find uniqueness in the genre.
Yeah, you do. And a lot of times, you know, back in the day, when people weren't writing books every 6 months, you know, when it took you a year and a half to write a book, by the time you got that book to market, they moved on to something else. And so there you are with something that nobody's reading anymore. So this quick turnaround in books is not helping the genre, in my mind, either. A lot of the books lack depth. A lot of them lack character development. A simple conversation between the main characters that has not been had is not tension. You know, people just sit down and talk and they can figure out this. That's not tension. That's just lazy writing. So, but I get what you're saying. You know, it's everybody wants romantasy right now. Even I want romantasy. I want to write a dragon book. You know, it's like, because I read fantasy. That's what I read. I don't read romance. I read fantasy. I want a Black woman riding a dragon. You know,
there's not enough Black women in romantasy. There isn't. It's hard pressed to think of any.
Kimberly Lemming is like Kimberly the one Lemming. That comes right off the top of my head.
Cage.
Say it again. We're all talking to each other. Say it again.
They were saying the two authors that write romantasy, the two Black authors, it's Kimberly Lemming, who has this beautiful book. And then, yeah, Jessica Cage.
I've seen those titles.
Yes.
Okay.
You know,
Shannara Williams.
Oh yeah, Shannara Williams. Yes.
Okay. All right, I need to write them down. But you know, the Black fantasy writer that I do read is Leslie Penelope.
Yeah, I need to get to her catalog.
I love her stuff. I don't think she gets the publicity and the support that she has earned because she's been out here for a while. Um, but she writes great stuff, just great stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, now that we're on the topic of stories, readers are wondering, do you have any other historical romance stories that are brewing? Is there anything we should be looking out for? Anything we should be excited about?
I for the first time in 30 years, I don't have a contract.
Ah,
I don't have a contract, which is sort of a good thing.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Can I?
I just turned in the last Blessings book will be out in October. And that was the last thing I had on contract with Harper and anybody else, because Harper Avon has been my main publisher for my whole life. So now I get to sort of throw out some stuff. My agent and I have had, talks about what's going to happen going forward. So, different stuff that we can see what we can sell. We got historicals, we got women's fiction, we have I'm working on a romantic suspense that I have been lying to my readers about for the last 25 years. They have been waiting on this book. He was a side character in Sexy Dangerous with Max and the dogs. His name is Sweetness. And so I've been working on that. I got 7 chapters of that now. We're shipping that right now. And then my romantasy. I mean, I I have girlfriends who have a hard time coming up with stories. Me, the green room in my head is full. It's people sitting on couches that have been waiting for 10 years, 15 years. Like, when is it my turn? They doing this. Come on now, woman, when is my turn? So it's just a matter of me sitting down, because like I said, I got them discipline issues, uh, getting some stuff done that I could give to my agent, who I have been with for 1,000 years, to see what we can sell. So it's it is what it is. I'm having fun looking at all these different kinds of things that we can sell. So we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, it's funny because I made a Blue Sky account to specifically ask you the question, would you ever make like a historical romance? But I mean, this way, but you said you would be interested in doing like romantasy. I remember I had asked, would you ever make like a black queen or princess who falls in love with like a prince? And you were like, it's something to consider.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that question. Yeah. You know, I but I would not do it. It would have to be in a fantasy kind of a mode,
Right.
with so, with quest and swords and armor and stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
That would be
because
fun.
yeah, because I'm not gonna be. I like my contemporaries to be full of stuff. Car chases and people getting shot and as opposed to what I'm doing with the historicals. So if I'm gonna do um, a prince and a princess, it's gonna be some stuff involved. So
Right.
we shall see. But yeah, I never say never, except for two chefs. I never say never, except for two chefs.
I wanted to ask a question.
Mhm.
Um, just I know you already, talked about like how like the abundance of stories that you feel ready to tell. But I think before the news kind of dropped publicly about Avon, I think that like I and a lot of people were hearing grumblings about it. And I just wanted to know like how you felt about that
How,
because
how I felt about what?
sorry about your contract. Sorry. I
Okay.
I think, it a lot of people like in the publishing world, like it was kind of going around, and I remember just feeling like rage and just being like, this is so out of left field. But I was just wondering like how you felt about that and how you managed that transition.
How I managed a transition between, I didn't, okay, girl, my ears are old as I am. Um, I've never been self-published. I have been with Avon since 1994.
Yeah.
Um, and whether I would go with self-publishing, I think is what you're asking me. Is that what you're asking me?
No, I think like because you had been with Avon for so long,
Uh-huh.
I think that, you and them parting ways, it
Oh,
came to many of us as a shock. And I was just wondering like how you dealt with that just personally.
okay.
Um,
We haven't parted ways. We just haven't sold anything lately. These contracts,
okay.
these contracts go back 10 years,
Yeah.
15 years.
I think she's also alluding to the fact that there's been a lot of rumblings that have filtered in to the historical romance groups and fandom that a lot of big name publishers aren't
Yeah,
really asking for those genres from
right.
big authors like yourself. I think even Joanna Shoup and other like really big
Yeah,
authors have mentioned that, we're not getting asked to do those stories, and that's kind
yeah.
of red
Okay,
flag for us who are
I
fans
see
of the
what you're saying.
genre.
Yeah, yeah. It's a pushback, and I'm disappointed with the publishers because they don't seem to be pushing back on this. They're faulting the stores because the biggest markets now are Target and Walmart. And Target and Walmart are saying that they don't want the small paperbacks. And it's basically people just being greedy. The readers don't want to have to pay $25 for a trade size, which is what everything is these days. I'm looking, I don't have anything here. Um, you just want something you can put in your purse that used to go for $4.99 when I was starting. And now they want you to go trade size and pay $25 for a book that has the same sort of content in it, which is not fan friendly. But we don't have the room for those, or we don't want to carry those, or that market is not uh, very functional right now. They're saying that the younger kids don't want to read historicals because the younger kids don't like the heat. Read something else. If you don't like the heat, there are plenty of books with closed doors. You can do that. So, yeah. And then also, you got the whole AI thing coming in where, some publishers are saying, well, we're going to be doing, using AI for this. And, you know, they scraped 40 of my books, Mr. Zuckerberg and his thieving people, to feed their monster without our consent. So publishing as a whole is in a flux right now. So it's going to be interesting to see where I'm going to wind up and what I'm going to be doing because I'm going to write. It's just a matter of who it's going to be, whether it's going to be traditional, whether it's going to be for myself. Because Lord knows I make a whole lot more money if I'm writing for myself. Because publisher traditional, you make 8 to 12%. And a lot of the people in the smaller categories is making 4%, 6%, 3%. Sister can't pay a light bill with that. So good question. Jury's still out. Stay tuned.
Thank you for answering. Love your book so much. Oh my God.
I love you too. Thanks for being a supporter.
Yeah, thank you for shining light on that because there's a lot of discussion now in just generally DEI and these initiatives that were built to bridge the gap are now getting chipped away. So, I mean, we are all a lot of us on this call, I will say with confidence, read your historical romance catalog. We read it for the history. We want to learn more.
Yeah.
It's comical that they're saying that, young people don't like historical romance, but we're all young people who are reading your
Yeah,
historical.
you are young people. Everybody younger than me now, so it's like, but I think, part of that whole book talk thing where, that is not very diverse. The people on the other side of the aisle don't read historicals. And basically, publishing is letting them do their marketing.
Mm.
And I mean, even if they didn't read me from the beginning, I mean, I've got a great crossover readership now. Everybody and their mama's reading Miss Bev, and that's fine. But not so much of the book talk on the other side of the aisle are reading diversely.
Because we're all of us on here, a majority of us come from Booktok. Our entire pages are dedicated to Black and Brown authors, independent, just marginalized groups, and getting the word out. I was really motivated to talk about your books because of all the history in it that you wouldn't know if you don't have these people in your family or if you're not books. So our goal is really to continue to foster that. So hopefully somebody can hear. Hopefully somebody can get to Black Booktok and see what we talk about.
Right. I was about to say on Black Booktok, we love you. Like we know you are.
I love you. And I have been wanting to connect with you guys, but didn't know how. Because I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on TikTok. I'm not on BookTok.
Because when I initially reached out to you, I asked you if you had a TikTok, and you said no.
No, I don't need another distraction. I'm already.
It is a distraction.
Yeah. So we,
for a lot of us, we love the history, but I would say aside from the history, we love the depictions of Black women being loved so thoroughly. In a way that's not lustful, in a way that is deeply impactful, and just these men in your books, they move mountains for their women. They are listen, don't play with me, don't play with mine. And so for me, I remember the first time I read Indigo, I cried like a baby. I boo-hoo cried because I was I think that may have been the first time I read a romance that felt authentic. You know what I mean? It made you feel damn, I want to be loved like this. And so that is so of course we love the history. We love all of the things that make the books. But for Black women, we love the way that we look in your books. And when you meet other people who love Bev and love Bev books, it feels like a secret society almost. Oh, you know what's up. Okay. Did you read this series?
It's
Did
like
you
cousins.
cousin? Exactly. And so that I think you're iconic for real. Seriously iconic. And I just wanted to make sure that we touch on how profound the romance is.
Yes.
If that's important.
Well, and I also use my books as a tribute to Black men because society would have us believe that there are no men like the men in my books.
Mm-hmm.
I was married to one for quite some time. And we all have in our Black churches, we got that little old couple that's been married for 50 years, still holding hands, leaving the sanctuary, going across the parking lot. They still holding hands because they've been in love for 50 years. Those people exist. My husband brought me flowers every time I finished a book. The first time I had to do a deadline, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I knew what I had to do. And so he was like, I got you. He did dinner in his suit. He picked up the kids. He did the band, the marching band practice. Um, he was a mess. I have to tell you the story of he was my lover and my husband.
No, that's right.
So there are Black men out there who love their wives.
And everybody's sounding off in the chat like, they're shouting out their husbands and boyfriends and things. Yes. Thank you, Bev, for that.
But, society would have us believe that they don't exist.
Yeah, see, I don't have a husband just yet, but when I tell you my standards were already high, and then
Yeah.
after reading you and introducing, they are just up here because I've read Black authors and there's Black love, but it's always that struggle love. And I'm like, why can't we have anything? Like, why do we have to struggle to get that love? And when I was
Right.
introduced to you or when I came across you, I was like, this is what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
Because it's like Lauren said, like, he will move hell and high water for his girl, and he wished that you would try to say something to her. I'm like, see, that's what I need. That's the kind of love we need.
Yeah. I mean, and there are some guys out there you want to run over with your car.
True.
100%, yes.
But they're not the one I'm writing about.
Right.
I let somebody else do that. I'm writing about the ones that's gonna bring you flowers, the ones that's gonna, my husband, okay, he's a contract negotiator for the teacher union. And so, high stress kind of thing. So he had a conference at a hotel, probably maybe an hour away from the house. And he had to spend the night because he had workshops to do and all that. So the first night he left about 5 o'clock after work to go to the hotel. So I got a call at about maybe 9 that same night. And he said, I hear your husband's out of town. I'll be there in an hour. And I was like, what?
Oh, he wasn't playing any games.
Well, he showed up an hour later. And I left my bed at dawn, going back to the hotel. So those men do exist. And he's the model for most of my men. Because he was always very supportive. When I first said I wanted to write a book, he didn't laugh. He said, baby, what you need? So these men do exist. So this is my tribute to Black love and to Black men and the women that love them. So
Thank you so much for that, because we need it. Lord knows we need it.
We do.
We do. Yeah, we do. We need to see it. Because sometimes you can't be what you can't see. So yeah.
I think
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I also appreciate the diversity of the women that are in the books. Like they go from like a mail order bride, you've got teachers, you've got hairdressers, you even have a couple sex workers, or at least one. I love Destiny Surrender, by the way. That is my favorite historical romance.
I love me some Billy.
I love me Billy. I love Billy.
Me some Billy. Oh my God.
Everything.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. Because, we were limited sometimes in what we could do. And, who's to say that a sex worker is not as valuable as a seamstress, right? Dorothy Sterling, who wrote the book, We Are Your Sisters, Black Women of the 19th Century. She said, Black women had 3 gifts, which led to us being so successful after the Civil War. Our first gift was that we worked, whether we were enslaved or whether we were free. The second gift was our commitment to community and social activism. Our third gift was pushing the envelope on gender and race. And if you look at where we are now, timeline, we're still doing that same thing. We're standing on the shoulders of these women. So my women show up and they may have one of these, or they may have both, or they may have all three. Whether they're seamstresses, whether they're sex workers, whether they are Underground Railroad conductors, so
Yeah,
I'm just grateful to be able to tell their stories in a way that resonates with all of us, you know? Yeah.
Alonsa Yates is getting a lot of love in the chat. The matriarch of the Destiny series. I mean,
Oh,
first of all, she was incredible. And
yeah.
I really loved how
Alonza, yes.
you gave
Alonza.
her a happily ever after. I mean, we go through her resurgence of love and
Yeah.
what I appreciate about that. I'm in my 30s, and so what it seems like romance and love dies after
Yeah.
35. Nobody can get that. And so it
Yeah.
was nice to get that. And then again with Miss Juliana. But Tati has a question. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jack.
I think I have more of a comment than a question, but you touched on this because primarily your characters, particularly the MMCs, are Black men.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, we have Ryan who was passing or whatever, but he eventually comes back to his blackness and his identity and things like that. Um, I know for me as a writer, sometimes it's the argument that I hear a lot of times with people who don't want to engage in love stories featuring two unambiguously black characters,
Yeah.
is that they feel like the story's not realistic. They don't feel like they can see that type of love or whatever in these stories. So they may tend to read stories that have MMCs, male main characters who are not necessarily black. And their argument is, well, the black woman is getting loved better, or this, that, and the third argument. But I think the thing that I love about your books in particular is that you show this wide variety of black men, from the outlaw to the judge, to this person, to that person, who are committed to loving and being in partnership with black women and uplifting black women and supporting black women, whatever that may look like, whether she be a doctor
Right.
or
Right.
whether, she be a independent woman with her own money. Um, and a sex worker. And I think that's the thing that I like. How do you what is your comment to those women who don't want to engage, who are black women who don't want to engage with black romance because they feel like it's not realistic? Because I've heard that argument up and down TikTok all the time.
Well,
Particularly from women. I'm 45, so particularly for women who are younger than me, who feel
yeah.
like that's just not realistic, that like that love does not exist for them.
Well, and that's a lacking in their own lives. We can't. It's another thing about being. You can't be what you can't see. Okay. If they've never seen it in their life, on any level, and there are women like that, who have not seen that or who've not experienced that. Of course, it's not going to be something that they're comfortable with. But publishing felt the same way. Okay. When Brenda and I started, Brenda would tell you the story about a editor who told her there's no such thing as black love. But if we believed everything that people told us, none of us would be here today, right? So I feel sorry for them who cannot relate to a genre and a story. I mean, what's realistic? What's unrealistic about having a partner who supports your dreams? I mean, what's unrealistic about somebody who has your back? What's unrealistic about having somebody who walks with you and not in front of you? Um, what's unrealistic about somebody giving you the strokes, and it not necessarily monetarily. I mean, it's like if you can't say that, I feel sorry for you, you know, because it does exist. And think of how much better their life would be if they believed in themselves. A lot of them don't think they're worthy of this kind of love. You know, we are worthy. And just because society telling you you're not worthy, fuck that. Okay? Yeah, I got a potty mouth.
I hear Kayla say period, even though she's on mute.
What'd you say? Yeah, I can turn the sky blue a lot of times, especially for stuff I feel passionate about. Give it the program. Come on, love yourself.
Yes.
Because if you don't love yourself, ain't nobody gonna love you either.
True.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta love yourself.
And I will never understand those people anyways. I read everything. I'm
Yeah.
gonna read. I'm gonna read the Black romance. I'm gonna read the interracial romance. I'm gonna read the white romance. I'm gonna read the Asian romance. Why are we limiting ourselves?
Right.
There's
Right.
so much out there.
Yeah. And I get the people who say they only read Black stuff. But I grew up with no Black stuff. I'm 74 years old. There was no Black stuff in the library. There's no Black stuff in the bookstore. And if I hadn't read, I would not be here today. So I don't know what to tell them. Get a romance. Get a romance. Free your life. Free yourself. And then the funkadelic said, free your mind and your ass will follow. So anyway,
Marissa,
don't
go
get me.
ahead with your question.
I just have one thing to say, and I'm gonna get out the way.
Uh-huh.
I have just been sitting here just listening and just loving this. Like, Miss Beth, I love you so much. I don't know. Like, your writing style, like when you say that you write like so descriptive, like I can literally see it playing out in my mind. So would I love to see you on Netflix? Yes. Do I necessarily need it? No. But I do say that I tell all my friends who read like urban romance, contemporary romance, and I said that maybe y'all should give like historical a chance. Give Beverly Jenkins a chance. Is because I was like, do you like women getting spoiled and the men who spend money? Do you like the men that are yearning? Do you like the men that they do not play about their women? Do
Right.
you like the men that are that in their spice and it's not closed door?
Nope.
Like it's described in a way that is not like overtly over the top sexual for it to be open door. And I
There's a
give you your
there's
praises.
a difference between a sex scene and a love scene.
Mm-hmm. And it's definitely love that you're writing. Yes.
Yeah. There's a difference. A love scene has got emotion, it's got texture, it's got all of that stuff. It's not just part A going into part B. Wham bam, thank you, ma'am. See you next time.
Yes.
None
Yes.
of that.
Get back.
None of that. So anyway, thank you, darling.
So go ahead with your question then.
Miss Bev, I just have a quick question. Krista had brought to my attention about something that you posted on your Facebook
Uh-huh.
page about I guess a documentary
Oh
about
yeah.
Black romance and readers. Is that something that someone reached out to you? Do you have any information
Yeah.
about that you could tell us just kind of a little bit about what that program is about?
She is a documentarian. She's a sister. And she has done some stuff for PBS, and she is trying to put together, she's in the early stages of trying to do a documentary on Black romance and readers and writers. there's a form on my Facebook page that you can fill out. It's a Google form where she asks just some general kind of questions. And if you would like to be contacted by her, you can fill it out and she will, and I'm sure she probably got, I don't know, probably hundreds and upon hundreds, because a lot of the other authors put them on their pages and all of that. But I will keep you posted. She's got to sell it first. So she's trying to get all her ducks in order. I'm very impressed by her, just the emails back and forth. So that's what that's about. And it's not something that's ever been done before, as far as I know. I mean, we did Love Between the Covers with Lori, but I don't think anybody's ever just focused on Black women in romance. So we'll see how it goes. Good question. Good question.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, if you go to my Facebook page, it's set to the public, and you can fill it out and submit it. Okay.
I'm already filling it out right now.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Ashley.
I have it saved too. I have everybody's email on here, so let me know if you want it. I have it saved because I think it's incredible. I mean, highlighting Black romance like that. There's another question about your voice narrators. I mean, Kim Staunton and Tom Penny, my word. Now, do you select them or were they selected?
I do.
Okay.
I do, because I don't do audio. So I let my readers tell me who they want. Mr. Penny has been off the scene for a while, but he's back now. So I want to see if I can't get him to do whatever else is out there that needs a narrator. Because yeah, I'm not an audio girl. Some of my readers, well, a lot of my readers are audio, and they love Kim and they love him. We have some readers. We had a guy, not gonna mention any names, at the beginning who was sort of scared of the love scenes. And they were like, no, we don't want him anymore. No, don't put him on here anymore. We had some issues with Indigo and Vivid. There's some people who were really not pleased with the Indigo audio for whatever reasons. So we probably will not use that person again. But yeah, I get to pick. Everyone will say, well, who do you want? And I'm like, well, give me so and so. Or I'll ask the ladies, who are we listening to now? And they'll give me a list of people, and we'll go with that. Yeah, because they're the ones that's got to listen to them, not me. So I want them to be happy.
That's good to know. They do a good job making it seem historic, like just the cadence in their voices. They do an incredible job with that. I always tell people I'm a huge fan of yours. My TikTok is dedicated to your work. Mostly, I read other stuff too. But
thank you.
Yeah, you're probably noticing a lot of your books are selling now. I'm telling people where to buy them or what to buy.
Please, thank you.
Krista is the encyclopedia of Beverly Jenkins books. I go to her, I'm like, what should I read next?
Well, I tell people to read them in order.
Yeah.
And the order is on the website, but people are going to read however they want to do it.
I'm actually doing that now, reading them in order.
Yeah, because there's a lot of Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Because there's only one book that is not connected to any other book, and that's the Beverly Jenkins trivia question. And I'm not telling y'all what it is. Y'all have to figure it out. The older readers know.
Before the
young folks may not know, but I'm not telling you. Y'all.
I'm rereading all of your books again, so
I think I know.
Yeah. So if you read them in order, you'll notice.
Okay.
That there's one book that is not. It's a standalone. But every other book has got a connection to some other book down the road.
Yeah, I bet my bottom dollar it's Before the Dawn, you guys. But I've been wrong before.
See, I was thinking that, and then someone in the chat said Midnight, and I was thinking like Midnight's American Revolution one, but I
No,
can't.
Midnight's got LaVic brother in
Captured.
it.
Does
Yeah,
it? Okay, it's been a while since I
Dominic
read
is
that.
in that.
The Dominic's in there.
Krista's right. Krista's right.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm an earth sign. I love being told right.
She's like, yep, I knew it.
I
The
knew
one that,
captured.
and I hated that cover.
Really interesting.
Yeah, because he shouldn't have cornrows. Come
Okay,
on now.
I was curious about that because he's Black Seminole or he's Cheyenne.
He's native. He
Yeah.
didn't. Yeah. And I wanted Frances Ray. Which book is it? Is it Forever Yours? She has a native guy on the cover with braids. Braids, not cornrows. And that was the look that I wanted. And I get the cover back and I'm like, what the hell is this? This is not 1965. Come on now. and the art people said, Bev, you didn't tell us. You know, we don't know. So you should have told us. And that I was like, yeah, I should have told you. I'm sorry. But I'm still kind of fussing about that cover. So yeah.
That
Personally,
is some 90s cornrows right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
My
Hey,
least
that
favorite
ain't nothing. That is
Sadly.
not 1870, 1880. Yeah.
is and everybody loves this cover, Nighthawk, because there's no woman. I want to see Maggie.
Let me tell you the story about that.
Please do, please.
And take some water. Okay. I was on deadline. And I don't know if it was that book or a different book. Anyway, they sent it to me, just the picture. There was no writing, no title, no nothing. And, and I had been up for like 3 days, and then this shows up suddenly one morning, and I was like, hello, this will wake a sister up. So, yes. So I put the picture that they sent me, because, I like sharing with my ladies. I put it on my Facebook page, and they went insane. So probably around noon, I said, okay, ladies, I'm going to take him down. We need to get a towel because y'all been licking this page all morning.
Oh my word.
But yeah. Oh, and he's on another cover. I'm trying to think which followed me on Facebook. I don't remember his name now, but that was 1,000 years ago. I think it's I think it might be Pillar's book.
Oh,
Destiny's Captive.
okay. He's not a bad looking man. It's not.
No, he's not. No,
cover's
he
great.
ain't.
It's just Maggie. I want to see what she looks like.
He kind of reminds me of Nick from Midnight a little.
I
He kind
love
of
that.
looks like him.
I love that cover. I love that
Yeah.
cover.
Yeah.
It looks contemporary, and I didn't care because it's Mr. Egner who did the covers for me. I just adored him because he was always doing something new for my covers. I
Yeah.
loved it.
Speaking of covers, everybody wants to know who did the original cover of Indigo and Vivid.
Avon did those. The the Vivid cover, I was like, it looked like he's standing on a box. But the Indigo cover, yeah, can't find it. I think I have the only original one left in my basement. It's going for a gazillion bucks on websites and stuff. But yeah, Avon Art.
What would it take for Avon to re-release Indigo with Hester and Galen in it? Do we need to start?
They don't own the rights anymore.
Okay. Could they redo
one? They don't own the rights anymore. I own the rights now.
Oh, okay.
I own the rights now. That and Vivid. They were I don't want to say foolish, but foolish enough to let them go out of print.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need my rights back. So We did that. So we did our universe, and then we did the 25th anniversary cover, which I thought was absolutely gorgeous. And then we did the 25th anniversary cover of Vivid, which I thought was absolutely gorgeous too. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't want to take up too much of your time or anybody else's on here. Are there any other questions, comments?
I love this. I love meeting all y'all.
Yeah, thank you. So this is book talk. This is
Because y'all the next generation, and and me and the old ladies, I'll be like, how am I gonna hook up with the young women? Eleanor's your hand up.
Hi.
Yeah.
I just had a. Oh no, go ahead,
Hold on.
Shelby.
Let's get Eleanor, and then Christina will get you next. Okay.
Okay. So I always have to be careful whenever I start a new Beverly Jenkins book because I know I can't put it down. How do you plot it? I know I said you're a pantser, but how do you write a story that you can't put down? Because I cannot put your books down once I start them. So if I know I have a deadline for something else, I know, okay, I can't start it today. I have to start it another time. Yeah.
We're all, the good Lord gave us all gifts. And this is mine. Some of us are gifted in writing, some of us are gifted in cooking, some of us are gifted in being parents, good parents. Some of us are gifted in artists, being an artist. And this is mine. I write the story I want to read. So, sometimes I don't know where we're going. I'm just trying to keep up with the characters who are talking to me. It's just like when in Grace's book, Always and Forever, um, after he gets dragged by the villain and they go to the swamps in Texas. I didn't know there were swamps in Texas. I was like, wait a minute, what do you mean swamps? I had to go get my atlas and look, and sure enough, there are swamps in Texas, which everybody in Texas knows. That's on the border of Texas and Louisiana. I didn't know that. So I'm like, okay. And I didn't know that the old lady in the swamp was going to be one of the major characters because I'm a pantser and I had no idea she was in the swamp. So I don't know, girl. I'm just trying to keep up with the with the characters. But it's a good question, Eleanor. Thank you so much. Christina, where are you at? You ready? She muted. Christina.
Hi, sorry.
No.
So as a Black woman from Colorado who always hears that like there are no Black people in Colorado.
I was there last August, last September.
Oh, awesome. Well, I wasn't, but I always hear there are no Black people there. So I was super excited to see that you included Colorado and the West in your books. And I just wondered what made you want to highlight the Black history in Colorado and the West?
Because we are everywhere and people don't know that. So,
they don't.
They don't know that. They don't know that we were in Colorado. I mean, one of the Deerfield is one of the small towns that was established after the Civil War during the Great Exodus, 1879. So, I like to go where people don't know. They didn't know we were in places like Montana or, Wyoming. So, and you've got a rich history there for Black people in Colorado.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So I was so excited to see all the interesting things that you included, including the history of the holiday after they freed the slaves in England, that was celebrated in Colorado.
August 1st, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that, and I'm from Colorado.
Yeah,
so.
it was celebrated nationwide. I mean, and folks in Canada near me, we're still celebrating it, in the 80s, 70s and the 80s. So, yeah. But we were everywhere, so. glad you brought that up.
I appreciate you including us because we are never included. So seeing it was one of the things that made me love your books because we're never included.
And well, everybody's always included in my book. So welcome to the family. Okay.
Thank you. I'm happy here. Good.
Yeah. We got a real big tent. Really big tent.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Bev, so much for taking this time on meeting with Booktok. This is a fun.
I've been trying to hook up with y'all, so
yeah.
Join me on my Facebook page. We have a Fans of Beverly Jenkins Facebook page. I have a brand page where we do the book club meetings. We talk about my books once a month. We have haven't done it in a while since the start of the year. And then there is a spoiler page too. The spoiler page, because if the book drops at midnight, somebody at 6 o'clock the next morning want to talk about it. They done finished the book, they done inhaled it, they want to talk about it. But I can't let them talk about it on the pages because it spoils it for the people who are still reading. So I have a spoiler page. And they can go in there at 6 in the morning and be in there with a bunch of other people who have also finished the book and want to talk about it. And they won't spoil it for anybody else. So
that's a good idea.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
It works. Yeah. Well, I loved this. I hope we can do this again.
Yes, please.
There was honored.
Yes, thank you for doing this for us.
Yeah, there was a lot of
much,
interest.
Krista, for organizing this.
For doing this.
Oh, golly. Thank you guys for being interested. Beverly, I wanted to make it worth your time. Of course, I could chat your ear off about how much I love the Levesque brothers and I want the Indigo original cover. So I opened it up to our community on Black Booktok because, like I said, we're just constantly like, you have to read this book and then read this book and then try this book. And, you're always in our mouth. So if your ears are itching, we're.
Yeah, so have you ever read the contemporaries too?
I'm sorry?
Have you guys read the contemporaries also?
Yes. Love them.
Yeah.
Love them.
Read a couple.
Yes.
I'm starting them.
Sexy Dangerous. Stop it.
Yeah. So, and there's a movie too. Sexy Dangerous is a movie. I mean, Deadly Sexy is a movie. Yeah, the people in my contemporaries are the descendants of the people in the historicals.
Love it.
Because my heart, I started Bring on the Blessings book 1, and my heart broke in 2 that this town that the July started is like I'm like, I'm not ready for that. I'm still like, I still want to, see with Teresa July.
That's what one of my girlfriends said. She said, I don't want to read this because that means that everybody in Henrietta is dead. I don't want to read that. I was like, sorry.
I do have the Blessing books. I have them ready to read this summer. It's just, oh my word, I don't know.
You have to read those in order. You have to read those in order. Otherwise, you will be lost because there is a cast of thousands.
Okay.
So, yeah.
They're so good. They're so good.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate y'all so much. Welcome to the family.
So much.
Hopefully, I'll get to see some of you in Atlanta.
Yeah. When are you coming? Because I will be there.
I'm coming to the Black Book Fest.
Oh God, I didn't get tickets.
Yeah, Black Romance Book Fest. I will see you there, Miss Bev. I will be there.
I'll be there.
Yeah, I didn't even know that they were having it until they were sold out. So I'm like,
that's what happened to me.
That happened to me last
thing.
year. I was like, where was this? And I was like, I'm gonna be on it this year. So
yeah,
I'm learning about it right now.
I'm so jealous.
Talking
about
it. And they have no tickets left. But I'll be, if anybody's in Detroit, my hometown, Kennedy Ryan and I will be at Detroit Public Library, the main library downtown on Woodward.
Oh, I got tickets for that. I'm driving from Cleveland. Yeah, I'm driving them from Cleveland. Yeah.
Well, they said, first come, first serve. So tickets are free, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. Well, I'll look for you in
what day is that? Because I'm in Indiana, so
it's on the 18th.
18th, the Sunday after Mother's Day.
Yeah,
like 2:00 in the afternoon. Come see me. I would love to see you. And Kennedy
I'll
is
be
just,
there.
Excellent.
she's
I
so
love
awesome.
her.
Mhm.
She's one of my favorite
So
authors.
awesome.
I'm waiting for her Skyland, the third book in her Skyland series to come out.
Yeah.
Kendrick's book. I'm so ready for that one.
I went to
Yeah.
a release party for the last one.
Did
She
you?
was so lovely. I
Yes.
cried.
I
She,
actually just met Jasmine Guillory, one of the Black-owned bookstores here in Indianapolis,
uh,
had a meet and greet for her book, Flirt Lessons, that had just come out. So
mhm.
she was talking about it, and we got to meet her, and she's like another one of my Black writers that I love.
Yeah. Yeah. She's
So
good people.
She's great.
She's good people.
Have,
All right,
have you
ladies.
have you have you ever
Go
been
ahead.
invited to Rare in Europe? The
No,
romance. Okay.
no, no. Where are you?
I'm currently in Germany, but
Oh,
I've
okay.
I've lived on four
wow.
continents. So I'm a bit of a cultural mess. So
Yeah, I got readers all over the world, and it's
yeah.
just an amazing thing for a low-color girl who grew up on the east side of Detroit. It's just wonderful, just wonderful. Thank you, Eleanor, for the support. Thank you, ladies. Krista, thank you for making all of this possible.
Oh, thank you so much, Miss
Yes,
Bev,
thank
for
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
putting up
Thank
with
you.
us.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Take
Hey,
care,
All right,
everyone.
Thank you, Krista.
we'll
Bye.
take care. All righty.
Bye.
Bye bye.
bye.
See you online.